Wow. Happy Wednesday. Well, this has been a very interesting day, to say at least. It's been a very interesting day, and it's gonna. Not sure how this is gonna end. It could have just been postponed, the inevitable, where he's still gonna get a sweetheart deal, or he might actually serve some time or have some real consequences. That I don't know. But needless to say, my morning started off with this right here. Judge says member of Hunter Biden's legal team misrepresented her identity on the eve of the plea deal hearing. Judge who will review Hunter Biden's plea deal on Wednesday accused a member of Biden's legal team of misrepresenting herself on the phone call to the court, a bizarre episode that prompted the judge to threaten sanctions against even Biden's lawyers. Insists it was all a misunderstanding. In a brief order, Tuesday afternoon, U.S. District Court Judge Marilyn Norica wrote that an employee at the Latham and Watkins law firm representing the president's son had called the court clerk's office and falsely claimed to work for the Republican lawyer in hopes to persuade the clerk to remove documents that apparently contained Biden's personal tax information. Latham denied any misconduct, saying the firm's employee identified herself as Latham's staffer and called from the law firm phone that typically displays Latham on the caller ID. The firm said that there must have been an unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication between the employee and the court staff. Definitely plausible. The rest of the story really doesn't matter because it's no longer relevant anymore. Fast forward a couple hours. Hunter Biden pleads not guilty after plea deal is derailed. The judge raised concerns over two separate agreements that the president's son reached with the prosecutors, but the agreement could ultimately be accepted. Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty to federal tax charges on Wednesday after a plea deal that he struck with the government unraveled when the judge raised questions about the terms of the agreement. With the surprise development came at a hearing in the federal court, here in which Biden has been expected to plead guilty to two charges of failure to pay taxes under a deal he struck with the government last month. Far from a done deal, he pleaded not guilty to those charges instead until the two sides can meet and address the questions posed by the U.S. District Judge Marilyn Norica. I don't know how to say your last name, Judge. I'm sorry. At the time, the judge appeared almost upset that she believed that she was being asked to rubber stamp on the deal. The parties will now reconvene at a future date to hammer out the terms and provide the judge more information, which could be within the next 6 weeks. Without me saying I agreed to this plea deal, how do you plead? The judge asked Hunter Biden. Not guilty, Your Honor, who responded. Hunter Biden is expected to reverse his plea in a new agreement or information presented to the judge eventually satisfies her. Of course, the judge is appointed by Donald Trump. Pressed both sides about the terms of the agreement struck with the attorney. I thought she was appointed by Clinton or Obama. Who cares? It doesn't really matter. Once they get the job, they don't have any loyalty to any administration. Terms of the agreement struck with the U.S. Attorney David Weiss of Delaware, another Trump pony who was kept on by the President Joe Biden to oversee the case. She expressed clear concern about how the two separate deals, one regarding the unpaid taxes and the other gun possession charge, potentially inserting or intersected in her purview to overview. The judge quizzed the lawyers about whether the gun charge would be diverted until Biden fulfilled certain terms. The agreement would have her act as an arbitrator if the president's son violated the deal over 24 months. She says that she did not believe that she had the judiciary, that she said that she did not believe that the judiciary would normally oversee such an agreement, and it was the responsibility of the executive branch to bring charges. Biden's lawyer, Chris Clark, explained that because the tremendous political stern and drain surroundings of the president's son's case, that element of the agreement would help to ensure that it wouldn't become more politicized. Too late for that. The government in the future would target Biden again. While the judge said that she understood his argument, she said that she's worried that there was no case law to necessarily support the terms of the agreement. Let's see how much more of this. I mean, there's quite a bit of this. Let's see here. The judge is also worried that the agreement on the tax charges did not give her the ability to reject or modify the deal, and that the gun charge agreement could shield Biden against further prosecution regarding his financial and tax issues. Though the judge says it was possible all these terms could be adopted, she wanted both sides to provide her more information regarding their reasoning for her to study further. Whether there's numerous points of disagreement, requests for clarification throughout the hearing, which was expected to take a little over an hour but lasted well over 3 hours. At one point, the judge asked whether the investigation against the president's son was ongoing, in which Wise responded that there was. It was, but said that he could not share any further details. If I was the judge, I'd be pissed off hearing that. No, you can't provide any further details. The judge also raised a hypothetical asking that Biden could face charges for failing to register as a foreign agent and whether the agreement blocks his prosecution of such charge. The defense says that they believe that the agreement would prohibit him from being charged, and the prosecution then disagreed. Biden's lawyer, Christopher Clark, was overheard telling the prosecutor, well, then we rip it up, and likely reference to the plea deal while discussing the disagreement during a brief break before the eventually relenting. See, that's interesting because if he failed to register as a foreign agent, and he's charged being a foreign agent, and they could prove that he's a foreign agent, this lawyer says that he would be shielded from such charge. And then the prosecution said that's not the case. So clearly, there's some loss in translation here of what it really meant. Because, of course, Biden's going to plead guilty to get him off the hook and have pure immunity for any crimes past that date related to these tax charges. I mean, it's a no-brainer for Biden to plead guilty and get this sweetheart deal. Let's see, the outline in the charges. White's office said earlier in a statement that Hunter Biden received a taxable income excess of $1,500,000 annually in the calendar years of 2017 and 2018, despite owning excess of $100,000 in federal income tax each year. He did not pay the income tax for either. The original deal included the prosecution would recommend probation for the tax violation, while a separate felony charge would be dropped if Biden met certain conditions laid out in court. It appears that now the terms of Hunter Biden's sentencing will be decided later or at a later date. Let's hear Biden's facing a separate gun charge for illegally owning a Colt Cobra 38 special handgun he had conceivably reached a pretrial agreement regarding the issue, or this issue, that would delay the charges for a 24-month period, assuming that he did not violate certain terms during the period, which includes being added to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, no use of controlled substance or alcohol, or no violation of local, state, or federal laws. If he followed the agreement, the charge would be dropped off. So Biden says no guns for us, all guns for Joe Biden. But during the trial, there was some confusion about the gun charge, prompting the judge to pause the proceedings so a resolution could be reached. The affair has consumed the U.S. political world, particularly Republicans, a few Democrats, I'm sure. They argue that Biden has received preferential treatment because of his father, saying that he should have been charged for some of his other business dealings. Trump's members of his family and his political allies have weighed in regularly with numerous allegations about his actions, while the deal brought an end to a sweeping 5-year investigation that involved federal prosecutors, FBI agents, and IRS officials. Is unlikely to hinder the deluge of political commentary, myself included. Let's see here. White House, blah, 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 blah. Nope. I mean, I know Hunter Biden is a private citizen, but if he's acting as a proxy for his father to do business dealings on behalf of the government, does he really become a private citizen? And I'd say these dealings were not government related, but he only got these deals because he was the president's son, and it was a money laundering scheme. I think that's why the Republicans in the House are going really hard on this, because if they could prove that Hunter Biden was the middleman between these illegal money schemes between a foreign agent and Joe Biden, that is an impeachable offense, if I understand correctly. Now, I could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. I could be wrong. Let's see here. Hugh Hewitt, a conservative commander, argued that the Washington Post that Hunter Biden, a dozy of a plea deal over tax and gun charges, is ripe for rejection by the judge, as it did not involve jail time. His arguments run parallel of that of many Republicans that criticize the plea deal as a slap on the wrist. The fallout will likely please many on the right, or on the left too. I mean, there's many people that done far less than Hunter Biden that are sitting in prison right now. Republicans have questioned the investigation and threatened to impeach Attorney General Merrick Garland over how the Justice Department has handled this case. Their ire has grown steadily since the 2 IRS whistleblowers involved in the investigation testified before Congress that there was meddling to benefit the president's son. They got to prove that Merrick Garland gave the order. Without that, there is no evidence. I mean, while I do think Garland should be impeached, not just over this case, but because he sent FBI to raid parents that didn't like certain books in libraries. I think over that should have been impeachable because he's abusing his power to say, we're teaching your kids porn. There's nothing you can do about it. Being a little hyperbolic there, but I think you get the message. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. Really not much more to this. Let's see here. FBI also shared a memo with Republicans oversight leaders in the House and Senate that included unverified claims that the Biden's time abroad of Ukraine's energy company while his father was vice president. The allegation, which remains uncorroborated, were part of the Justice Department review of Trump, then Attorney General William Barr, that launched in 2020, and the probe was later closed later that year. Could be William Barr was a fixer for the establishment. I mean, that's a theory. That's a hypothesis. I don't know. It's just really interesting. It's interesting because you have the president's son literally get a slap on the wrist while there's people in prison for life or 20 years doing similar things, and he's just going to be able to walk free. Yeah, he sure have a record, but if it gets dissolved or if it gets expunged because he served his time period without any new crimes, it's a slap in the face to those people. Anyways, that's my video for today. It's been a very interesting day. Start off with allegations that Hunter Biden's lawyers were trying to impersonate the GOP to say that they wanted the extra information removed from the court, to the judge saying that this plea deal is garbage. Not even that garbage. It's just there's some issues where the parties don't agree, and both parties need to agree to understand the terms of the conditions. And I just find the whole thing interesting. That being said, that is my video for today, and have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.